Okay, so when we talk about principal square roots and simplifying, so let's say you have the square root of negative 16. So now we're like, okay, well, we know how to deal with that because we can have a negative radicand now. So we can do that. But what you want to do first is you want to take care of that negative right away. So think of it as the square root of 16 times the square root of negative 1, or this is the I part. Usually students will just say, oh, it's 4I, which it is because the square root of 16 is 4, and then you have the I part, okay? So that's how you would simplify it. Now let's say you had something like the square root of 32. Oh, sorry, negative 32. Let me squeeze that in there. Negative 32. Well, first of all, take care of the negative sign. So write the square root of 32, I, and I'm putting it at the back temporarily, but I'll fix that in a minute. But then you have to break down the 32. So that's 2 times 16, or 16 times 2. That you can take the square root of. So you're going to have a 4, and you're going to have the square root of 2, and then you're going to have an I. So this is like the real part, and this is the imaginary part. But a lot of times they're not going to write it that way. They like to put the I in between the rational part and the irrational part. So they're going to write it as 4I square root 2. Okay? You'll get used to it. Like I said, when I was a kid, we always put the I at the back. And now you see it more. It's to clear up any confusion. The I is not under the square root symbol, so that's why we do it that way. All right, so now we have some examples where they want us to simplify and write the result in standard form. Okay, so here you have a negative 81. So we know it's going to be the square root of 81, and we know it's going to have an I in it, and we know the square root of 81 is 9. So we just get this pure imaginary number. It just has a rational number for b. It's just 9I. Yay, it's done. Okay, now this part, I'm going to say it's the square root of 75I. And then this I have to try to simplify like I do simplify radicals. Okay, so 25 times 3, right? And I know the square root of 25 is 5. So it's 5 square root 3I. Now this is the real part right there. It's not rational, but it's real. And then I believe they're going to put the I in between. Now I'm going to double check that just to make sure I'm not leading you astray. But I think they're going to write it like this. Okay. So I double checked, and yes, they're going to put the I between the rational part and the irrational part, okay? But when you're thinking in terms of what is the BI, the B here is 5 times the square root of 3, okay? So it's a little confusing, but it's to clear up where that I is, and it's not under the radical. Okay, let's do part C now. We have to follow the order of operations. So I want to do 5 squared, which is 25. And then I'm also going to do this multiplication. So what's 4 times 3 times 7? 4 times 21. 4 times 21, 84. Okay, now I have to do the subtraction. So what's 25 from 84? I can tell it's Saturday morning. Okay, 59, negative 59. Okay, great. I can't, well, I'm going to make that the square root of 59, and then there is going to be an I part. Now this, the square root of 59, that's an irrational number. It doesn't simplify, so it's 59 is prime. So I'm done with that, but I'm going to write it as I square root 59. They're going to put the I in front. Okay? Let's see. I think that's all we have for that.